All right, think about this for a second. Go back to any classroom you've ever been in. It's a familiar scene, right? You've got the same teacher, everyone's getting the same lessons, taking the same exams, and yet there's always that small group, isn't there? The ones who just consistently crush it.
But here's the crazy part, the thing that really makes you wonder. They don't seem more stressed out, like, at all. They're not panicking before a big test, and it really doesn't look like they're pulling more all-nighters than anyone else. So, what gives? What is their secret?
Well, the easy answer, the one we all kind of fall back on, is the myth, right? Oh, they're just smarter. But the truth? The reality is so much more interesting. And honestly, it's way more useful for the rest of us. You see, they're not even playing the same game. They're playing a completely different psychological game. And this quote, man, it just nails it. Think about that. The second you chalk it up to natural talent, you give yourself an excuse to stop looking for a better way. Overachievers just don't do that. They're not asking, am I a genius? They're asking, what's the system here? What actually works? And that one little shift in focus, well, it changes absolutely everything.
Okay, so what's rule number 1 in this psychological playbook? It's all about identity over motivation. It's this idea that you stop focusing on what you feel like doing, and you start focusing on who you believe you are.
And check out the difference here. It's pretty stark. The average student thinks, okay, I'll study harder this time. It's a promise, right? It depends on some future burst of motivation. But the overachiever, they're thinking, I'm the kind of person who handles this early. It's not a promise, it's a statement of fact about who they are right now.
And that right there is the secret sauce. Because when you truly believe you're that person, your actions just fall in line. The effort doesn't feel like this big, heavy thing you have to drag yourself to do. It just feels natural. It's just what you do. It's automatic. So this identity shift completely changes when you start. For most of us, the trigger to study is fear. That deadline is creeping up, panic sets in, and then finally we get to work. But the overachievers, they get started way, way before fear even enters the picture. Because they understand a really simple truth about how our brains work. Pressure kills clarity. You know that last-minute caffeine-fueled intensity? It feels productive, but it's a mess. Your thinking gets cloudy. By starting early, they make a trade. They swap the panic of tomorrow for the calm of today. And that's how they protect their ability to actually think straight.
All right, that brings us to the second big idea here. If you're not running on panic and last-minute motivation, then what are you running on? The answer is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You're running on systems. Because a good system will beat raw willpower every single time.
I absolutely love this quote. It just flips everything we think about discipline upside down. We look at overachievers and think, wow, they have so much willpower. But they don't. What they have is structure. They've built systems that make doing the right thing the default, the automatic choice. They've taken the daily decision-making out of the equation.
So you might be asking, okay, how do I actually build a system? It's actually pretty straightforward. It's a 3-step deal. Step 1, remove the decision. No more asking if you'll study today. Step 2, set a fixed process, like every day at 4 p.m. I go to the library for an hour. And step 3, you just automate it. You do it over and over until it's a habit that takes zero mental energy.
Now, having a system is great, but only if you're doing the right things within that system. And that's the difference between movement and progress. Movement is all the busy work, rewriting your notes for the 10th time, highlighting every single word. It feels productive, but is it actually helping your grade? Progress, on the other hand, is strategic. It's about spotting patterns on exams, focusing only on the high-impact stuff. It's about leverage, not just blind effort. Okay, so we've got identity, we've got systems. The third and final piece of this puzzle is your mindset. More specifically, it's how you deal with feedback and failure. And trust me, this is where the gap between being just average and being truly exceptional becomes a canyon.
This idea is just so good. Overachievers get this on a deep level. They know that looking a little bit silly for a moment, getting something wrong now, is way less painful than making that same mistake over and over again for years. They'd rather feel dumb for 5 minutes than stay average for 5 years.
And this table just lays it all out, doesn't it? The average student's motto is avoid being wrong. It's all about protecting the ego. So what do? They hide their mistakes. But the overachiever? Their motto is hunt down errors. They're on a mission to find where they went wrong so they can fix it. See, ego is the enemy of learning. Detachment is what speeds it up.
And this goes for failure too. When the average student fails, what's that little voice in their head say? I'm just not good at this. It's a direct attack on their identity. But the overachiever? Their inner voice is more like a scientist. Okay, that approach didn't work. Time to adjust the experiment. They separate their self-worth from the result, and that's what keeps them calm and objective.
All right, let's bring this all home with the final piece. What happens on game day? When the pressure is really on. It all boils down to one thing: trusting the process you've already built.
This is super interesting. It's all about the dopamine cycle. Most people live in this loop. Reward first, watch Netflix, then comes the guilt, then the panic, and then finally the work. Overachievers completely flip that. For them, it is always work first, reward second. And by controlling that simple order, they protect their consistency. And let me tell you, consistency will always beat cramming.
And that's why, as a big exam gets closer, you'll notice something funny. They get quieter, not louder. They're not panicked, because their confidence isn't some loud, braggy thing. It's earned. It's a quiet calm that comes from having the receipts, the proof that their system works, day in and day out.
So how do they build that rock-solid confidence? They train for it. They practice under pressure. They do timed sessions, they run mock exams, they use the same constraints as the real thing. So when the actual test day comes, it's not a shock to the system, it feels familiar. Their brain has been there before. It's why stress sharpens a trained mind but completely paralyzes an unprepared one.
So when you put all these pieces together, the identity, the systems, that growth mindset, it all boils down to one powerful habit. They stop negotiating with themselves. They just don't have that internal debate every day. They don't wait until they feel like it. They don't wait for a lightning bolt of motivation. They just do the work.
And look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this quote, because it's the absolute truth. When things get tough, you don't magically rise to the level of your intelligence. You fall to the level of your systems.
That's the game. That's what they're playing. It was never about being smarter. It was always about being more systematic. So that leaves one last question, a big one that's just for you to think about. What is your system?